that was around 9 when news started coming in, announcing him dead. And we wondered who actually, released the information before the hospital did. Until 12:30 when they released their document, officially declaring him dead. But the question is, who's in the hospital who had spilled that premature information, regarding the death of the Honorable Segirinya? Now, yesterday, as it is the norm, his remains were taken to Parliament to pay last respects to them. And to our disappointment, the front bench, that is the Prime Minister and the team, they were not in presence. They were not there to honor the life of Mr. Segirinya, which left not only us, wondering, but also the members of Parliament, which prompted, a one honorable Basman Basalirwa, to ask a question whether the government was disinterested in the death of Segirinya, whether they were on demonstration. Because for the first time we saw, a fallen member of Parliament whose body is brought to Parliament to be honored, but the state, rather the executive, not being represented. Initially, normally it is the Prime Minister, also the leader of government business, who's supposed to move the motion, and then, seconded by the leader of opposition. But yesterday, by the time the body arrived, the Prime Minister was not anywhere to be seen, not even the first deputy, not even the second deputy Prime Minister, until after, some time when the third deputy Prime Minister entered, and that is Rukia Nakadama, who apologized, and she used, misinformation, miscommunication as scapegoat, where the speaker swung into action swiftly and guided and said, no, you're lying, actually, we communicated so well. Nevertheless, Segirinya was honored in Parliament. Members of Parliament had a lot to say about him, which made me ask this question: how come you've not emulated him? Or why haven't you done before? Because everybody was praising him for his love for his people, that even before he entered Parliament, he had asked, all people engaged in business to have a list, a saving box with the name Segi Box, where he was not only encouraging him to save, but he was himself also making a contribution. When he entered Parliament in the first 3 months, the hospital was already in place, 2 ambulances in place. These were, testimonies from his fellow members of Parliament who have been in Parliament for the last 20 years. Every time I would hear them speak, I was asking myself, okay, what have you done for your people? Let me stop there and introduce my panel. A very good morning. Let me start with Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe. He is a chairman of one of the political parties in Uganda, that is the Labour Party. He's also a professor. In fact, I don't know why I'm stuck with doctor. He's Professor, Associate Professor Rogers Barigayomwe. How are you doing, Professor, and welcome back from your vacation?
Thank you, Edirisa. A good morning, viewers. I'm happy to be here with you to deliberate on national issues.
Welcome back from your vacation. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, it's good to take vacation, and it should be a culture. Actually, you see, when I go for vacation, I think that's how you knew, I try to display it.
Yes.
To tell people that it is normal. Actually, it is abnormal not to take vacation.
Doctor.
It is a leadership issue in Uganda that people don't want to take vacation. People
normal.
are going to die on their jobs. You see, I'm fresh, and I usually, that's why at my age I'm professor, because I take vacation and I rejuvenate and work better.
There is one person here who admires you a lot. He was asking you, what can I do to be like that man? The man is always on a holiday, on a plane. So when you say it's normal, it's not normal to some of us. That after just 5 months, someone, takes a plane and goes to Dubai to take a vacation.
No,
goes to Berlin.
It's a culture, and people, Africans should learn that culture of taking vacation. And it is normal, because it's actually showing you that you even put systems such that whenever you're not there, life will continue. Like, for me, every day I meditate on that, and that's why I try every day. Like today, I'm coming to tell Ugandan, if I'm no more like Segirinya, life continues. My children will go on, because if you saw on vacation, I was mentoring them, I was with my children. So everything is set. If I check out on this life, life will continue. known to be at those old ages, and you are still even fixation like this NRM thing of party which is keeping people hostage. So they should let the national leader take vacation and take leave on national politics.
Otim Levy akona pesa. I think you've heard Dr. Rogers hinting on your NRM. There he is a political analyst. He's also affiliated to the National Resistance Movement. I don't know whether he changed his mind because I've taken some time without seeing him. How are you, Mr. Otim? Happy New Year to you, bro.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the viewers. I'm more than happy to be here with the BTM family. As always, called, we shall always appear, deliberate on matters that concern us, the citizens, that are opposed towards human development. So we're more than ready to be here. For my brother, Chris, it has been a very long time, Rogers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many years he has been enjoying vacation after vacation. But of course it is...
and don't you dare attribute that to
attributed
the good
to
leadership of NRM. I
attributed
can
to the
see why you
freedom.
hate it now. You want to attribute that to the good leadership of the NRM.
But in one way or another,
Party.
Oh, right.
it's one way or another. But of course, you see, all the privileges we're enjoying today.
Yeah, because if they didn't stay this long, we would be the ones in leadership. But now they let us do vacation. I mean, how can a professor of politics now be not deployed anywhere? So
No, but you
it's
see,
partly good to them. So.
when I address it, it's also very good for the chairman, stroke the president of the Labour Party, to have these vacations. Reflect on what is happening in other countries,
Yes.
and then come and share with us here notes
But I want
on
to
how
ask
to
this
grow.
question, Dr. Rogers, your experience, because me, I've experienced, when you go out, when you have just come back into the country, that image you had of the other countries, where you were, the way they look, the way those good roads, look like, the building and everything, the order in the city, and you come back to Kampala here, what is that first feeling that you get?
Depression, and I saw even Andrew Mwenda saying for him he came from Accra. Accra is just a developing country. Now you are talking about some of these places we go. You reach Entebbe airport and you get depressed. And you see, for me what happened is when I came this last time, even my luggage was taken for, to me what I call even stolen, for about 2 weeks, until they now told me you have to go to police and record, is it stolen, because now I'm like, I cannot. At the airport. I mean, I can travel 5 countries at a time, but everything is smooth until you reach our airport. Let me tell you, for us even who travel, you really see we need to redeem this country. This country is, if you saw, and I usually say the Mwenda who was a government sympathizer, you even from the time you enter Uganda, you really feel we should do better. We should be in a better environment. You say, why don't we? Because some of these countries, just like even, and let's not exaggerate it to say Europe, US, because some of us have been accused of being out of place because we are professors. Just go here in Rwanda. Everyone can take a trip to Rwanda, just 100,000, and you come back. Your mind will be oriented, and you are like, oh my God, these people from Rwanda came here. We are the ones who mentored them. All the laws, including the resources they used to build Uganda, many of them were gotten from here. The weapons, yeah? So there is no hidden secret, but because they have a culture and they are determined to move forward, they've moved forward. Now they are called the smartest city in Africa. So their GDP is just a quarter of the GDP of Uganda. So these things can be done with this peace. And that's why I gave credit to the NRM government and to our fathers, because for me, I'm not guilty to say they are my fathers. They've gotten peace to this country. It is stable. But for management, we are disappointed. And for that, we tell you, give us space. to organize for our children because you have failed us on that.
Well, Mr. Tim, I should begin with you as you talk about the life of the fallen Member of Parliament for Kawempe North, that is Mr. Muhammad Segirinya. I was telling you, sharing with you some of the testimonies from his colleagues in Parliament, how they all speak about him in admiration, you know, telling, sharing what he had done, what he did in a short period of time. In fact, one wondered that she doesn't know what he could have turned Kawempe into had he stayed in Parliament for a full term. Because in a short time, he had done those things. In fact, one even said that in just that short period, he had executed his entire manifesto. What kind of legacy do you think Mr. Segirinya, has left, and what do you think, some of the lessons that his colleagues, especially in Parliament, need to draw from his life, from his way of doing things?
You see, with leadership, we always have a way we partake in form of the Human Development Index. And for Honorable Segirinya, may his, beloved soul rest in peace. He was a very, great man. He was a great leader. But also, amidst the greatness, he was one leader that could give you headache in case you came at him and he's trying to, front a message. This was shown with the way he handled his politics when he was still a councillor with KCCA. And it's because of what he did in KCCA is what led to, him being elected as a member of Parliament. And you see that within 2 years, or rather 1 year, that he had already been very active in the politics of Kawempe North. You saw the kind of movements that was trying to create. And of course, to any other person or individual, you find out that it can either turn out to be a threat to any other person that either wants the seat or even to government. Mostly, most especially looking at the fact that he was in opposition and he was doing things that were rightly in accordance with what he wanted to make the people great. And if you're seeing, he did a lot of developments. He was into opening, saving groups for his people in the constituency. I think at one point we also saw he was trying to purchase his own means of, transport. He opened the private, health facilities, and then he also gave in that people should get free, medical treatment and then consultations. You really see that is a structure of a good leader. One is that you want people to have, services that deem so hard, but he was giving to his people free of charge, without any penny, because he was representing them. But now you see the approach, because yesterday we really saw a sluggish kind of image from government. I'm pro-government, but sometimes I prefer to call, things, I prefer to be straight. The image that government could have portrayed yesterday when they were honoring Honorable Segirinya in Parliament was very bad. The excuses from these heads, political heads, and then the kind of approach that we're seeing, mostly the people that were there were from opposition. We did not see, we saw minimal people from the NRM or from the ruling government coming in to give probably 1 or 2 messages of how they knew Honorable Segirinya. But if you moved around Parliament, you're going to see that it was full. Very many members of Parliament were there. Possibly most of them were in their offices. They did not prefer to go where? To go into the house. That is a very bad way of sending of a friend.
Why do you think they did this?
Him being, these conflicts of party, politics should always have an open hand. If you were to do an assessment, for example, the United States, the President Qatar, America lost President Qatar, a former president. And you are seeing that everyone that has been a president before, including Donald Trump, was sharing together with Obama. They have always been enemies. We
Even
saw
in Uganda,
the
let's not go
Clintons,
far, Mr. T.
we saw
Even
the Harris.
in Uganda
No,
here,
no, you see, I'm trying to bring
Seginya
it
is
here.
not the first member of the opposition to die when still in office.
Yes.
And we've never seen this happen before, where members of the executive, members, of parliament who subscribe to the NRM, the ruling government, deliberately shun, stay away from the seating that special seating that is meant to honor the deceased. This was deliberate, and I'm wondering, if you try to read into this, get into their minds, why do you think they did this? Were they trying?
No, you see, it's just being a little selfish, possibly, of how you're handling your leadership. And of course, you see, for anyone that has a particular office, it's not going to be something that you are going to inherit or possibly pass it through your family and so on. We have always seen this in Africa and even in other countries. But you see, in politics, you should be dynamic, or rather flexible with how you handle things. If you have lost a colleague, be it opposition, be it NRM, and if you have any wrangles, politics should not be a point for you to have a hatred for anyone. We are all humans, we are all people, and if we differ in political ideology, it should not be a basis for you to do what happened yesterday. I think this should be a lesson, both to them who are in NRM and then even any other political party. We have a chairman Labour Party here. You should be deriving lessons from what is happening. That one, politics should be Ubuntu. It should be a point of unity. That we can differ in form of ideology, we can differ in political affiliations, but let's have a common agenda. And the common agenda is human development. That is what we should be, we should be fronting on point of everything. That's why you're seeing the superpower countries that we are all praising and want to run to seek greener pastures. For them, the political wing speaks one language. The political wing, even if they disagree publicly, but when they sit together, they share ideas. I was seeing how Barack Obama was having chats with Donald Trump. Nobody knows what they were discussing. Other members were requesting for, if there's anyone who can interpret the lip, you can read those lip interpretations. But it is a very good gesture that you have people literally who have been in the same political race.
Mr. Tim,
together.
sorry for interrupting you. You
Yes.
see, I do this deliberately. I don't like it when you take us very far. Yet you have examples within our proximity. Let me tell you,
No,
just
okay.
just across,
I can
Mr.
use-
Tim,
I can use the-
just
I
across
can
in
use-
Kenya,
Yes.
2 weeks back, was it? Is it 2 weeks? Just last week, President Museveni went to attend the Pinyi Luo Festival. And do you know who had organized that festival? It was the former Kenyan, presidential contender, Raila Odinga.
Yes.
And in presence, there was also the president of Kenya, Mr. William Ruto, and they were smiling, and President Museveni was in between them.
That is true, but
let's
but-
not go to America. Let's
but-
just go to Kenya.
No, what I'm giving you, I'm giving you something that is properly aligned, an organized setting in a political.
Somebody may argue that
Now,
stop giving us examples.
Okay, let
no,
me
but it's also
jump on
okay.
that
It's
and
also
try
okay.
to
You see,
explain that.
when you're looking at the East African bloc, which country has a very disorganized, approach when it comes to political, transition? It is Uganda.
But let me comment.
Because
maybe
the president,
give
President Museveni cannot sit in the same place as Bobi Wine. and
Exactly
Besigye
my
and
point.
exchange hands.
Now you are reaffirming what I'm saying. Because my point is, in fact, I displayed that picture. If you could have that picture again. That picture, I looked at it for like 3 minutes without saying a word. I was like, doesn't President Museveni need to pick a lesson here?
No, but
This
you know
is Raila Odinga
Let me
with William
defend-
Ruto.
Let me defend President Museveni. President Museveni went to that show. And actually, if you got his words, he said it was Christmas season. The reason why I came, because these things are uncommon to Africans. And for many years, Ruto and Odinga had been fighting. So for him, it was like, if Africans can sit in this peaceful thing, I know the comment he was saying that the Europeans, the Americans, they are going to space. For us, we are not even speaking as brothers. Now, in defense of President Museveni, when President Museveni came in 1986, that's the dialogue he had. Because he called his political enemy, you remember, the Muwonge Edirisa. Yeah? who had contested with him in an election in 1980. If you remember, Mayanja Nkanji had contested. He made him a minister, and these guys accepted that. That was a broad-based.
At that stage, Doctor, I don't think we can refer them.
No, you see.
Give me 1 minute. I bring it up to present. At that time, he was tolerant, and actually, if you know President Museveni's ideology is tolerance, because let me tell you this, that right now the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the NRM, who even seem to be more radical NRM than they were from opposition. So at that time, the NRM was tolerant to scout good leaders from other party, and at least at that time, use money to woo them to their side, use other factors, positions to bring them to their side. That's how you see Mao. But in the case of Segirinya, it has brought another stage, whereby after Segirinya had been just voted in, he went to Netherlands. Some of us who have facts, Segirinya in 1 week, he had mobilized over $10 million. And the people in the state knew that he had actually mobilized this money. And it was a very good coincidence for them that they were Vijambias in Masaka. So they had to, because he was going to embarrass the state, that things which the state has never done, Segirinya was going to do them in 1 week. And so, I'm telling you, the ideology before was tolerance. But some people hijacked, and it's not President Museveni, but the people who work around him. So they concocted.
Pretense over.
Yeah, they concocted intelligence report, took them to the old man, who is of course 80. You know the weaknesses of 80. My father is 80. We have grandfathers 80. Yeah? Manipulated him to put up such kind of rubbish intelligence report that Segirinya is part of the murderers. And not only that, they would have stopped at that. They still somehow, it is alleged, went to the prison where he is to finish him. Let me tell you, this culture which is coming up in Uganda is very dangerous for everyone. And actually, it is even more dangerous for people like my brother Tim who are in the NRM. Because elimination by poison is what we actually, with this, if we are all decent, at this time government would make sure Kizza Besigye is not in prison. Because right now, apart from them taking you to prison, which is, they could have their reason, but now they will eliminate you with poison in prison. And that precedent had never happened. We who were in NRM before can never associate with this kind of vice of killing. And Segirinya, in his own leadership style, he was below 40. He was in his 30s. So Segirinya was like how you saw John F. Kennedy to America. An airport is even named in his honor because John F. Kennedy, from 20s, he fought in the wars, American wars. Then he had that energy. So some of this energy you see with the oppositional leaders, like us and the Bobby Wines and many, if government tapped it positively. Now, if you could tap Segirinya's mobilizational skills, a 30-year, and he even mobilizes more. President Museveni before used to use that, and that's how he ended up with, I told you, Otim, Anito Mong, and even his deputy, and many politicians. For him, he would tap. But because these guys who are just thinking they will go in his steps, and for them they fear, they know President Museveni won't be here any longer, and for them they want to eliminate their opponent by poison. This is very dangerous. It is not African. It's not an African culture. It's not Pan-African. And then you talked about the behavior of government. Now, if we're in a decent population, they should resign. The Prime Minister should resign. All these cabinet hopeless ministers who didn't come should all resign. We shouldn't be.
Let's pick it up from there after this break. Don't go. Dialogue continues shortly.
Discover delicacy at Cafe 2, your all-in-one destination. Whether it's the perfect cup of coffee or a satisfying meal, we got you covered. Indulge your cravings with our mouth-watering pilau, savory katogo, crispy chips, and tender chicken. Explore a world of cocktails and fresh juices for a truly special treat. Planning an event? Choose Cafe 2 for top-notch outside catering services. Benefit from ample parking. Stay connected with Wi-Fi and catch your favorite matches on DSTV. Cafe 2 offers food deliveries in and around Kampala. Hosting a conference, our center accommodates up to 1,000 people. Need a boardroom for a party or corporate meeting? We've got just the spot for you. We offer a free venue for birthdays and baby showers, providing complimentary photography. For those aspiring to become professional baristas, our barista school awaits you. Visit us at Albany Center, Level 2 on Ginger Road. Cafe 2, where every occasion becomes a memorable experience.
So glad you could stay with us. You're still watching the Dialogue. My name is Edirisa Muwonge, still with Dr. Rogers Bargayomwe, Professor Rogers Bargayomwe, and our team Levi Akona Pesa. And we are still recounting the life of the fallen Member of Parliament for Kawempe North, Muhammad Segrinya. Yesterday I was giving you, describing his kind of politics. Segrinya gave politics a different touch. Initially, people thought that those offices were for the elite in a sense that if you had to be member of parliament. In fact, I also had to talk about it, but I talked about it early in the morning here, that they thought for you to be member of parliament, that's why even they touched the word honorable. You have a kind, a formal style in whatever you're doing. When it comes to walking, it comes to dressing, it comes to what. But here comes Segrinya with it in his own style. And is voted. Even when he goes to parliament, he behaves the way he was behaving. But brings services to the people, which is the most important thing. Mr. Otim Levi Akona Pesa, as a political analyst, how can you describe Mr. Segrinya's political style?
You see, the political style of Segrinya, possibly I can say, was direct approach from leadership to the common man, and he was a person that didn't have the aspect of bureaucracy. You see, in today's politics, we have a lot of resources channeled through, in line from the top to the technocrats down to the community, top to bottom. So when you look at Segrinya, he had always wanted to deal with direct, with the communities that are affected, and that is how he had literally managed. And you would see that he was a person that was radical. When that approach comes, is very radical, and then he can also tend to use the diplomatic approach in case it is there. But if he wanted his message, fronted, he always had two directions. That if you don't, accord him this kind of a platform where he can present his issues diplomatically, he would use the wrong measurements. And I think government saw that as a threat, because you see the current population or public of Uganda looks at how we can use different measurements to front an agenda. And for government, they have that fear, the fear of a radical person, someone that has that radical aspect.
Is it because they're also radical?
No, of course. You see, when you are dealing with when you have the method, so you see a country like, a government, or let's say a party like NRM, for them to come into government in the 1980s, what measurements or methods did they use? They had to use the radical methods. that use a method whereby we are fighting the current regime, but also underneath that we also have to use a different approach of doing things. Now that was Segrinya for you. Segrinya had brought that in the current generation. Now the current generation has a lot of Gen Zs. You know what Gen Zs are capable of doing? The Gen Zs we have in Kampala here, possibly majority are semi-literate. If you're to go to the ghettos and so on, some of them even don't know what education is all about. Most of them are semi-literate. Now, in Kampala, mostly Kawempe, where Honorable Segrinya was coming from, initially coming from, you find that the Gen Zs in that area are semi-literates, and for them they will listen to their leader other than even the president. Now it was very difficult for any NRM, short or politician to pass in the central region. And now the mobilization that Segrinya had partly should be contributed as to one that helped even NUP excel in some of the areas here. And also climbing from the ranks of the local, council, politics, becoming a councillor for Kawempe, and then now, upgrading and becoming a member of parliament. His English was limited. But I'm telling you that if we look beyond the English,
and people need services, not English.
Yes, people actually needed services. And when you have to look at Segrinya, you would see that even with his limited English, he would front ideas that even these top shots that know too much English couldn't. So I attribute that we have lost someone that was a good leader and a young man. At that, he was 37 by the time he has left us. He had a lot of potential. We also seeing possibly if he had been given more mandate, then he would have become even a very a great leader, possibly even one of the top shots in NUP as a political party.
Dr. Rogers, there's Mr. Segrinya, man we are trying to honor, because like I interfered in submission. I want to join Kyagulanyi and the team who believe that all people do need the services, not the good English. When you look at Mr. Segrinya's political approach, political style, I think it doesn't only, we shouldn't just stopping at describing him, but also the populace, the people themselves who vote for such people. They are like, we are not voting for Latif, a degree holder. He's been here for a while. We've tested him, but now let us send, like Mr. Tim described him. Because even his certificates were questioned, but later on it was settled by court. They sent such kind of person, not an intellectual, not a typical, elite.
Yeah, you want me to comment on that? Indeed, I agree with my brother Tim that Segrinya was that person who was active, and of course he had to bring a Gen Z spirit. Now, that is a spirit government had to kill as soon as possible, because if these spirits multiply, because at one time the revolutionary spirit multiplied from Yoweri Museveni, who, by the way, Yoweri Museveni, president right now, also led the gang. Some might think it is, but it came from number 9 to 27 to 41 in Kabamba. Yeah? So if it was not, if Obote was wise enough, he would have stopped it at that time. So these people are aware that if you let Segrinya move, he will catch the spirit, and that spirit of Segrinya was going to catch, and it, like Otim was saying, it was going to result like the Gen Z, and you saw what the Gen Z did in what? In Kenya. This is what government is now. I tell people, don't see these generals, they are no longer sleeping. They know a revolution has to come. That's why you see they are planting things in the Besigye gun. It is not that. Even Besigye himself now, these things of 2026 can no longer work in Uganda. We now need to build a revolutionary force. But I also blame government, because this is the thing. Government has left intellectuals like us to be even like fools. You tell them things which are classic from book material, that if you don't do this, this will happen. Then some of us are taken as theorists, as even we non-starters, yeah? And we cannot mobilize professors. We are being laughed at. So now,
Amos workers are trying to promote the image of Uganda to the people outside who have never been to Africa and they don't know anything about Africa. If they see any of this happening, that you say Honorable Segrinya being arrested and in a space of less than 5 years is dead, that of course portrays a very bad image.
Let me give you information. When I was in Canada just this year, the arrivals of any African countries in the camps, Ugandans are the most arriving in Canada, running away from Uganda in this very regime of the NRM. The refugees from Africa, most are from Uganda.
The president said the other day that there is no one who is out of Uganda now as a refugee. Those who go out, they go there to work, to explore other, economic opportunities. But there is no one who has left Uganda.
That is a lie.
I've heard that from the president.
That is a lie. We have one of the biggest refugee camps in Kenya.
So the president is a liar.
In Kenya, North Kenya. No, I can't say he's a liar. But you see, I just want us to be very realistic sometimes. Or we should not be blinded by the political, philosophy and so on. When you go outside the boundaries of this country, is when you will have a picture of what Uganda is like to the strangers. The stranger actually will describe Uganda to you the way you don't expect. You say, but I have been in Uganda and this is not what I know as me. It's because the people who have gone there before us already could have already shared information that's benefiting. And you know what information is? Information is very powerful. So my only thing is that, one, as human beings that have a future prospect of this country, that we were born and we got Uganda here. None of us is going to be buried with Uganda. We're all going to leave this country here, and more people will come. Possibly even possibly there might be another exodus of tribes moving into the country. You can never know what evolution.
They are already there.
Yes, you can never know what evolution
means.
Eritreans
are more than Ugandans.
Dr. Rogers, I want to bring you back.
Before Rogers comes, you know that we now have Eritreans and Somalis taking over a certain position.
But they're not in your leadership.
No, but of course they're not in the leadership. But look at Kenya. Look at Kenya.
They will come.
Look at Kenya.
The LC
in the Westlands.
But with Kenya it is different.
No, look at Kenya.
Kenya took the whole of, you see that northern part of northern
Kenya
Garissa. So those Somalis you look at as foreigners, they're actually not foreigners. They're part of Kenya. They are Kenyans.
But you know that the Eritreans also who have also come into the Kenyan system now, and they're in government. Look at us in Teso, in Soroti, and in Kumi. We have Asian families that are into the political space. So I'm telling you that it's just a matter of time.
But those Asians, they're not Ghana's by naturalization.
Yes. But I'm telling you this, that it's only a matter of time, and everything is going to adopt. Whatever government system that you are seeing today, eventually will also collapse, and tomorrow you might also see Labour Party coming to take over government.
No doubt about that. Professor Rogers, the issue of bail. You see, there are those who argue that had this man been granted bail earlier, maybe he could have, accessed better medical attention, and so he couldn't be dead now. And the president, it's around the same time the president, vehemently came out and said he was opposed to bail. Even the other day, when he was giving his New Year's message, again he said that he's opposed to the police bond. So, the repercussion of this, isn't it death like we are seeing now?
Yeah.
That you deny people bail, and they can't leave jail to access better medical attention, and so they end up losing their lives.
And it was unfortunate. It's my friend, Judge Tweyanze, who was involved. Uganda is going backwards in some areas. Because if you know, Edirisa, that in Uganda for the first time you had an issue of acting judge. Do you know? Didn't I tell you what it was intended to do? Acting judge. Such that if you're a judge and you don't do what the government wants, you are not going to be confirmed. And you see some judges who are being threatened to be confirmed. Now, these other cadre judges, of which my friend Toyanze should be.
You guide you see what is coming ahead of you. That we're literally a country that is just loosely hanging on a string. Should anything happen to the executive, the other two cannot come and supplement the executive because they would have already dropped together with the executive.
But
that is what you're trying to
Let me give you a point
to
of information on this bail, maybe. The president, his spirit looked innocent, and he was saying that the bail, why he wants it, is to fight crimes, and that is corruption. Do you get it? If we look at the convicts of corruption, I will tell you we have the Namujus. Who else? We have Mawanda. We have all those ones. The suspects. Okay, I would say the suspects of corruption.
Those are the ones
and that's where the president said that he should manipulate. They should not be bail, but yet they are the beneficiary of bail after a few, not 2 months. Then when you look at the political suspect, they did everything to deny it. So it shows you that actually it is within the powers of the president to he would have denied those political corrupt officers if he wanted. Because you look at how Sekirinya was treated. When he's released, they are arrested. It took 2 years, which shows that the executive managed to manipulate its system. So Ugandans would be more pleased if they see the president frustrating a corrupt person who has taken our 10 billion and he's frustrated for 2 years. But these are his ministers. These are his MPs of NRM. These are guys, half of the cabinet, who should be. Sekirinya is just a sacrificial lamb, Barnabas. The real ones are the cabinet ministers.
Let's take a short break, and then when we come back, we are going to be reminding our viewers. I do.
We do.
We do believe you, Dr. What a question.
Omaze ebbanga ng'onoonya essimu ey'omulembe ng'ate eri oligino aba ZTE abakolera akasimu kali akakabiriiti bakuleetedde essimu ya smartphone eya Blade S35 ZTE ku mitwalo 19 zokka. Weefunyeko S35 ko kiso nga kagirako storage eya 32GB, RAM wa 4GB, kalina kamera kalaso mu abanyumira bu selfie. Kano ke kasimu ke weetaaga. Eryanda limalira ddala ennaku nnya ng'ate oli ku mutimbagano ate mwe bakiboosire ku mitwalo 30. Weewangulire S35 kiso 2 ng'ate eno egirako 64GB storage, 12GB RAM. Eryanda limala ennaku 5. Tusuubuza n'okusuubuza gwagyetaaze jangu wano ku Viltex Mount Business Center nga ffeffekka abakutuusiza essimu zino. Tusange ku Namirembe Road, KK Trust Plaza, shop number B02 watukubire ku 0704 60 10 65.
Don't miss on BTM.
Get ready for an extraordinary journey of faith and valor as BTM TV presents Omusirikale Alokokatya. It's time to witness the remarkable convergence of duty and devotion. Join us every week as we sit down with real-life heroes, men and women who have not only dedicated their lives to ensuring our safety, but have also found a deeper purpose on their journey to Christianity.
The foundation of this country, we hand it over to you, Father.
Witness the miracles that unfold in their daily service. These are just not stories of duty. These are tales of redemption. Don't miss the chance to be inspired, uplifted on BTM TV as we bring you 30 minutes of faith and courage. Every hero has a story, and every story deserves to be heard. Only on BTM TV.
Sit back and relax with BTM. We transform. Don't miss on BTM.
Do you love traveling and exploring different cultures? Do you want to experience the beauty of nature and learn about different societies? We've got the ultimate show for you. Tourism in Uganda, a brand new show that highlights the rich cultural heritage, majestic wildlife, and scenic landscapes Uganda has to offer. It's a show that takes you on an adventure and leaves you breathless every step of the way. Uganda is home to some of the most magnificent wild animals in their natural habitat, from lions to elephants. This show helps you get close to them. This show will take you to the heart of Uganda's communities to experience the Ugandan way of life, from bustling marketplaces to traditional dance ceremonies and food tasting. There is always something unique in the corner. Tourism in Uganda. Explore the Pearl of Africa with us.
Sit back and relax with BTM. We transform.
Dialogue. My name is Edirisa Muwonge. I'm still here with Professor Rogers Bargayomo. He's the chairman of Labour Party. And Mr. Tim Levy Akona Pesa is a political analyst, also subscribing to the National Resistance Movement. And we are recounting the legacy of Muhammad Segirinya, the fallen Kaumbe North Member of Parliament. Now, his woes began in 2021, shortly after he took that oath to present those people, when the state, swung into action and arrested him alongside his comrade from Machinde West Island, Sawanyana. And they were accused to be the masterminds of the panga welding men who are hacking people to death in southern Uganda, that is in Greater Masaka. A number of people had been killed when the state came in to start investigating who could be the real culprits, or who could be the mastermind, the founders of this. And according to the state, they realized, or they found out that it was these two legislators, Muhammad Segirinya and Alan Sewanyana. They swung to action, arrested them, took them to Chitalia, where they were to stay for the next 2 years. Now, on coming out, that is after they were granted bail, Segirinya, both of them, their health deteriorated. As a matter of fact, it is Alan who actually got affected first. Even when they were coming to court, you could see that he couldn't support himself. For Segirinya, he was healthy. At some point in time, we saw in one of the pictures we showed you, Alan was even leaning on Segirinya's shoulder. Segirinya looked healthier. But after some time, it is Segirinya's health that actually deteriorated more. He was in and out of hospital, both in the country and abroad. They pronounced him dead several times, when actually he wasn't until yesterday. But one when he was officially pronounced dead by the Lubaga National Hospital. But also I was asking a question, and it's a quick one to you gentlemen. I don't know who had released the information. Professor Rogers, this is information that's supposed to be confidential. Why would we know what is transpiring in the intensive care unit? Before we got the official, communication from Baga Hospital, I had broken the news here about the death of Segin at 9. In fact, before 9. And this information was all over. Considering where he was in the ICU, I don't think even a closest relative would be allowed to enter there. So who's this that disseminates, this information? I was kind of questioning also the credibility, of Luwaga Hospital's, information system.
Let me tell you that in what they call in political science state of capture, every system is captured. But you should know that, and not only Uganda, worldwide, intelligence first consumes every information. And in Uganda here, even before you release, never be like that it is Justice Byamukama who releases election results before it's permitted. Every result which is contagious has to be first siphoned by intelligence people. So it could be because what is thought is that Segrinya's mother communicated, because when she would be the closest in ICU to know that this person is dead. But to a person who had mobilized like Segrinya, that death can cause riots by people who believed in him in Kampala. So the intelligence will take over. Let me tell you, not only in Uganda, but the intelligence people will even be at ICU. They will even be near the doctors and say, for now, give us time to prepare. So that if some of you who follow and some of us who know, there was some deployment. And right now there is still some deployment.
Where?
And no, in the whole of Kampala and you
because
get
of
no,
what
because
is going
even
on. Because of what the
because
conferences are holding.
No,
in fact, we have various heads of state in the country. I almost forgot to mention. This is also important to tell that in the country we received heads of state. I think the Ethiopian president is in the country. Also, there's some dignitaries. And when I saw this head of state,
let me tell you.
This one. Let me say this. It's important, Dr. Rogers. I think when you look at the route that leads from Kampala here to Muwonge, there is that Gaba Road route and Salama Road route. The people who are in charge of driving those beloved heads of state or dignitaries are having from other countries, consider using Salama Road as well. It is a shorter distance, I can tell you. Why are you hiding people from seeing what is happening along Salama Road? It is a shorter route. Have you used that road?
Yes, I've used that road before.
So are you defending? For me, I'm telling you what happens in all instances.
The deployment is what I'm defending.
It happens even in Kenya. You saw it. Any state, like this state, especially this state, is manned by people who came from the military background. They don't take anything for granted. So you cannot announce such a result because psychologically,
is protect those dignitaries in the country.
Partly. I'm not saying yes, they can be protected, but there was a threat.
Deployment here where they were having their meetings
even
in
as
Serena.
I came right now, even in Kampala, there is deployment.
Yes,
they cannot take any chance because right now, let me tell you, 90%, including my brother here and members of the NRM, know that Segrinya was a political victim, right or wrong. So that alone can cause a conflict. Let me tell you, the genocide in Rwanda just took a plane of a president being shot. Yeah, so let's not rule out. He told you he's an expert in conflict. I'm also an expert. So such results of Segrinya are not supposed to be just transmitted by, is it a mother? This Segrinya had put himself to a level that is a national property. So the results, yes, you had at morning were the right one, but now they had to give time to the security to protect all of us, and it is good. That one I support. Yeah. So what they do, that's why you saw they had to know, because even they will tell you who is the spokesperson of BTM say now first do this, because for example, if you know how governments are changed, it is someone by the crossing over there to UBC and announces a new government. Whether the president is still there, once they've announced, the new government has come. So the other one is just helped from Entebbe to wherever. So I'm showing you
I'm imagining that.
So that's some news is not just portrayed by anyone. So they had to give time to security forces to prepare, and by midday, you will even notice that people could have come from Bombo security, and now Segirinya is the. But right now it is still sensitive. And you saw even later to take the body to Noop, all those ones. Now, how can you take that body, by the way?
That was to honor his will.
No, let me tell you, even if you don't, did you study how World War I started? By just a killing of a student. World War I, and it went to 2.
Even apartheid, just killing a student.
So, never take things for granted. This Segirinya, that when he just dies, just his body, people can start on. You saw the Kabaka riots.
Yes.
People can start on the body, and they say, no, we are not going to the Noop offices. We are taking this body to State House. A revolution can start. So,
Mr. Tim.
Yes.
Let's now shift the debate a little bit, but still talk about the same subject. Let's look at Segirinya's political home, the National Unity Platform. Dr. Rogers here hinted on it when they said, the Segirinya in a short time, he had, he was mobilizing funds from here and there. At some point in time, his own comrades in the NUP, including the leadership, started doubting him. Chagulanyi confessed yesterday. He said that when I saw what he was doing that short time, I summoned him. I asked him, Segirinya, where do you get all this money? I told him that I'm just mobilizing. So that, raised doubts. In fact, there are those who say that the NUP was not planning to, give him the ticket again. That is in 2026 general elections. In other words, that they had fallen out with him. But again, like we all know, now he's dead, that normally politicians also capitalize on the demise of their comrades. So what do you see transpiring in the NUP now that we're approaching the 2026 general elections? Are you seeing them capitalizing on the demise of Segirinya? What should we expect?
Of course, you see, anything to do with political party affiliations or affairs, internal affairs, I've spoken about this, multiple times, inclusive of NRM. And its internal conflicts. You see, NUP, first of all, the formation of NUP came like wind. It was just one scenario in Bujiri, and just a handful of people, I think Impuga inclusive, sat down and then designed something based on the issue of the people power. Now, people power came and then drove. You see, like how termites build an anthill, they begin building from the ground. That is what happened. By the time the people power slogan came out, the NRM saw that as a threat, because that is something that sweeps. And anything that comes with such a magnitude, normally you have to find ways or methods of trying to in artists, we call it a to-dengor, switch off some of these pinpoints before it can explode and become big. But by the time NRM was trying to do that, it had already exploded. That's why you're seeing those block votes from Bujiri, and then Bosoga also, came on handy. Central region was on fire already, and then NUP came about. What happened to the former leadership of NUP? You know what happened. When NUP came, it has, I think, been in place for, let's say, talk about 5 years. But within those years, you already see what has happened. There has been conflicts within the top leadership. One has already divided off, and he has created another one called the Democratic Alliance. Democratic Alliance has also gone with a bunch of NUPs. That's why you even think that the ones who were allocating Honorable Segirinya in Parliament were just a handful of some of the NUPs. And then the others, like Honorable Mpuga, came because of the solidarity, that they knew who Honorable Segirinya was individually, in the human aspect. Now, for Segirinya's mobilization skills, I would rather have seen that NUP would have taken advantage of Honorable Segirinya's skills of mobilization. Because initially the biggest aspect that was taking Bobby Wine out of this country was to go and mobilize, rather seek for influence or power, and then also the money aspect, that is the finances. Now, if Honorable Segirinya went to Europe, Netherlands, and in a space of less than possibly a month or two, managed to mobilize 10 million euros, that was something that NUP would have, clinged on. Embraced that if we have a key mobilizer, we need to put him within the leadership hierarchies of the party. That he can be like NRM has a secretary in charge of diaspora affairs. And the one who's in charge of diaspora affairs has to go outside there and mobilize those voters and so on. But it's also another tactic of mobilizing funds back to the party. That happens. Any political party does so. Even in FDC, we had the BCJ together, I think, with the Nandala Mafabio, so who would go abroad and solicit for this money. When Japan came, when Amama Mbabazi came with Japan, you saw Amama Mbabazi had his forces going out to mobilize for these funds. That's fundraisers. Now, Honorable Segirinya was a mobilizer who was now trying to use that aspect of the party to pull the funds to them. Bobby Wine was wise. He would have summoned Segirinya and either emphasized on trying to say that if this is happening, let it be at the face of the party. That the funds possibly can come, and then you can have a certain share for the community development of Kawempe North. Because you can see the money was coming. Segirinya was able to he would buy this ambulance, he was building medical facilities. I think he had put 2 or 3 in Kawempe North.
What about those who believe, Dr. hinted on it here, that he could have got also state money? Portion of that money was from the state.
The allegations are there. The allegations are there, and you cannot.
You have that rumor?
You cannot brush them. Yes, the rumors
but
are there.
I'm wondering why would. I'm also wondering. Educate me. Why would the government give Segirinya money in the first place?
Let me tell you. Today we are sitting here in this studio, and if information landed on the ears of Intel and possibly the president that we have Muwonge Edirisa is a very good mobilizer and using the tactic of BTM TV, the Dialogue Talkshow, as a camouflage, but underneath is lobbying for Labour Party funds, and he has so far pulled $5 million, and then there's another bunch of $15 million that is coming. You become the target, open target, and the government will want to embrace you into their chambers for you to add value to them. That's what most governments do. That either we bring you on board, and if we cannot manage to bring you on board, then we are going to totally eliminate power from you, power and influence.
But to answer even his question, the CDF told you that they sponsored NOP. So it is their interest. Says, for example, I saw a tweet where the CDF is saying,
by the CDF,
we sponsored Bobby Wine. When the state sees that Besigye is a threat at that time, because he's militant.
Did you take him serious?
It's very possible. And
we've
seen it.
Let me tell you, anytime you take anyone serious is when they have either a problem or they are in the other thing. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say it here. But by the time you see his posts reflective, they begin on Friday, and by Monday, I think maybe most of them are being deleted, and then some are highlighting of how most of the things are. Some of them might be controversial.
I don't want to take him serious. The other
day, you see, every information should be serious to you.
The other day, he said you wanted
who studied international relations. Me who studied international relations, I know what information can do. Diplomats in every country derive on information, and we use the coded language. Now, the coded language might be both physical, more of visual, or rather verbal.
omuze ebbanga ng'onoonya essimu ey'omulembe ng'ate eri oligino aba ZTE abakolera akasimu kali akakabiriiti bakuleetedde essimu ya smartphone eya Blade S35 ZTE ku mitwalo 19 zokka. Weefunyeko S35 ko kiso nga kajjirako storage eya 32GB, RAM wa 4GB, kalina kamera kalaso mu abanyumira bu selfie. Kano ke kasimu ke weetaaga. Eryanda limalira ddala ennaku nnya ng'ate oli ku mutimbagano ate mwe bakiboosire ku mitwalo 31. Weewangulire S35 kiso 2 ng'ate eno egirako 64GB storage, 12GB RAM. Eryanda limala ennaku 5. Tusuubuza n'okusuubuza gwagyetaaze jangu wano ku Viltex Mount Business Center nga ffeffekka abakutuusiza essimu zino. Tusange ku Namirembe Road, KK Trust Plaza, shop number B02 watukubire ku 0704 60 10 65.
Amannya gange mpitibwa Sulaina Nakachwa nga nkola ne BF Suma. Abaami batawanyizibwa obulwadde bwa prostate, tujjanjaba obulwadde bwa prostate enlargement. Otegeera otya ng'olina obulwadde bwa prostate? Okubeera ng'ofuka olumizibwa, okulumizibwa wansi w'olubuto, okufuka omusulo nga gulimu olusaayisaayi, okulumizibwa omugongo, Expowerman capsules kyekuyamba okubeera ng'otambula bulungi mu kisenge. Kugamba amakane gabeera nga masanyufu. Expowerman coffee naye kuyambako. Tulina product ez'enjawulo kwega zijjanjaba obulwadde bwonna obw'enjawulo. Nti omuntu yenna ali eyo bw'obeera n'obulwadde obukusumbuwa, nkubirako namba zange ez'essimu onyinyonnyole oba ojje tukwataganye. Tulinawo ne badokita ab'enjawulo. Tulina obujjanjabi obulungi. BF Suma yatuleetera product ennungi ziri nakyo 100% tezirina buzibu bwonna. Tulina branch nyingi naye nze ndi wano ku Mabirizi. Osanga discount ennungi gye bampa okusobola okutuusaako abantu bange product zonna bonna basobola ozikozesa. Tukola ne delivery bw'oba tosobodde kujja. Ennamba z'essimu eri 0758 69 29 61.
Brighter life, better future.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching The Dialogue. Edirisa Muwonge is my name, with Mr. Tim Levy at the extreme end. He's a man who subscribes to the National Resistance Movement. Though not happy there, but he loves the party. And Dr. Rogers Bargayomwe also sometimes confuses me. But he's chairman of Labour Party, but sometimes he comes in to defend, his fathers of the National Resistance Movement. So I get a little confused. Clarify that in just a second.
He is a son of a historical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that sometimes you are submitting something and then you remember, oh, there's someone I'm annoying, then you
but historically it's all known. From 1986 the country wanted to have a good direction and everyone was willing. The whole country, people came and went in an umbrella. That was NRM. I observed this umbrella when I was a young man. I was a Musevenist at one time, knowing that he meant, and at that time, by the way, I believe up to now, he meant good for this country. Until he was captured by manipulators, self-seekers, and it is at this time that everyone at different stages is jumping out of that bus. But we should all confess that at one time, we loved this bus. It was moving without potholes, but right now, it is a very uncomfortable bus with no AC.
Speak of that. Your friend, Colonel Dr. Kiza Besije, he's about to spend a third month in prison. What he's charged with is actually, a capital offense, illegal possession of firearm and everything like that. His lawyer, Aaron Kiza, was hastily prosecuted and sentenced to 9 months in jail. The speed that the court martial used. Here you told us how you have cases that have been there for close to 10 years. But Aaron Kiza's case, the man that is on your screen, he was prosecuted and sentenced to 9 months in jail. What is the plight of Dr. Kiza Besje? Martha Karua, finally she was granted a temporary legal law practicing license. She's in the country. So you don't have any excuse. Your legal team is now fully fledged. Your take on the plight of Dr. Kiza Besje as he continues to be tried in the military court martial, even when he's a retired soldier.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I believe, government is always experimenting. At one time, they experimented, and you see, like the Segrinya issue. Why did you think it started with Bijambia? I want to tie the two. They thought Bijambia would also end up at court martial. But you see, after these things, there are always people who are advised to take him to a court martial. Somehow, this thing prevailed. But the way it opened up for them that the man had to get bail, and bail is civil, it caused a certain awkward thing, which this time they were more prepared. They said, no, if we go to see these civil courts, right away, it was crafted from Kenya that let's bring Besigye. First of all, most of the people, including the president himself, don't believe their story of like how he was hijacked and like the planting, because that would be a case of Kenya. If he had the firearms, I mean, he was well checked out of Entebbe, maybe he wanted to take over because in simple law, that's what would be. But you see, they wanted to tie firearms and court martial him because they know if you have a good case, why don't you bring it through competent courts? Because however much I don't believe so
are you
much,
questioning the competence of
however much exactly I don't
the general court martial?
I don't believe also in these cadre judges appointed by the president, but somehow they are qualified. They've passed through law school, many schools. Most of these ones of court martial are less learned, and I will tell you that as a profession. And they are under command. Court martial, you are under command of the high. We've seen it from the Guti days. So what we see is that it is a very unfortunate situation, but it is because the government knows it has a bad case, so it will go to a bad court. Now, when it goes to a bad court, they still frustrate people like Martha, who are typically practicing in Kenya. It wouldn't have taken this long. But you see, the whole case about this case is that it should delay as much as possible. So they dildo and waste about 20. It's just like in football game. The one who has possession will delay. The whole thing about NRM and this regime now, it's delay everything because they know they don't have good cases. So now they've delayed, now they've appointed. But the man has spent how many months? 4. You get it? About 4. Now, if we are to play the issues of Honorable Segirinya, if it is alleged, like the alleged part that it could even be poisoning. Now, in those 4 months, don't you suspect that something could have been in that food or someone could have penetrated the system? So, it is possible all these things can be taken in, and Dr. Kiza Besije could also suffer such similar circumstances. That is, if it is. So, what happens is, this court you are seeing, or court martial, we've seen again, it frustrated also the lawyers. But one of the issues it did is to sentence a lawyer for 9 months now. And you see, for it, because it's court martial, it has sort of uncommon power to do things which are not traditional in other courts. So you are going to see more frustrations because that one, how can you challenge, for example, that, have you ever seen it anywhere where someone representing a victim is now given 9 months. So it is unfortunate what is happening to these courts, and you don't expect justice for Dr. Kiza Besigye.
To bring you to speed, Dr. Rogers, Mr. Aaron was, charged with contempt of court.
Yes.
And that's what he was penalized for when he was sentenced, 9 months to jail.
Yeah, but one, contempt can have not seen anywhere.
You didn't see his actions.
No,
he banged, bars, tables.
It is not the first thing it is being done.
Military officers.
Bang the table.
Yes, it is not the first thing it is done, but still I would expect, let's say, a lighter sentence of being suspended, because you can suspend someone from court. But also, these are emotions. Because, for example, I'll ask you, for us, we are civilian. I'm a civilian. I don't hold any weapon. You guys of the court martial have all the weapon, all the members. How do you expect Ugandans like Aaron to work with their emotions? If you guys with the members who do things in uncivil ways have not sentenced yourself to those years, like for example, the person who has done it to Segirinya, people who have tortured, we don't see them have such harsh, but someone to have emotions, of which is natural to have emotions like Aaron, and you say 9 months, where is government? That's why some people are saying this is becoming a failed state, because it is anywhere it is possible for someone to have emotion, especially if he has his client. We've seen it, people from cases of Nelson Mandela, a man with treasure. Nelson Mandela was the most emotional man. But these uncivilized military people, unschooled, some of them, are doing these things in public gallery. What you talked about our children, what message are you sending? For me, what I think, I condone the behavior of Aaron. He could have been suspended. We've seen it, even with members of parliament. He could have been given a lighter sentence, but 9 months is too harsh, given that he had played a vital role in representing Dr. Besigye. So now you are sending a message to all Dr. Besigye's lawyers, including Martha, that you've come to a country whereby you can be punished for contempt to court, you can be poisoned, so they are taking away every civil space, every space a civilian has ever had.
But this was meant to instill fear in the other lawyers of Besigye?
Definitely, and even as a public.
Or to deter them from following Aaron's trajectory.
These things are uncouth, and they should be, these our fathers have went to say we've fought all these things to give you power. But every civil power, they've taken it, that you are even trying civilians in court martial. This is also an pan-Africanist. The Minister of Justice, by the way, Otafire, condemned this thing. And for him, he said from the start, this is like, he called it bullshit. It is not civil. And so many people, by the way, even in the government, don't believe in what is taking place. I believe in the president will condemn it at one time. But because some people have hijacked
you're talking about the other day released a long letter where he was heaping praise on the General Court Martial, justifying its continued trial of civilians. He said it's the reason why you have peace prevailing in Karamoja, having the Karachunas taken to Chitaria. They would be dead, but because of the court martial, then Chitaria and there's peace in Karamoja. I want to come to you, Mr. Tim.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see,
first react to that message from the president, that letter where he was heaping praise, on the
you see,
and also bringing Karamoja in that discussion where he says that the tranquility in Karamoja is, thanks to the existence of the
It all comes to one thing. And I think I also want to pose a question, that why would civilians be court-martialed? So when we were setting up this and they dissolved the constitution, there was a protection that was given to civilians, that we are not going back to the days of President Idi Amin, where civilians were court-martialed. We also experienced scenarios in the Obote governments where court martial, all the military, had more powers than anyone. Now, don't you think that a likely situation is coming back where we have the military possibly taking up everything? We have the military doing, engineering works. That one I've not disputed. We have them repairing the roads. We have them building the stadiums. We have no problem with that. But alongside that, we also have professionals who are civilians who can literally do these things, and have local companies here. Secondly, we have the civil courts, and this should be guided, because judiciary, as an arm of government, should be left to do things on their own. Besige, first of all, was bundled, was arrested from outside the boundaries of this country. That, I think, by international law is prohibited.
That's violation of
Kenya, that's violation of international law. We spoke about here. We spoke about it here. That why would you arrest a citizen who is not part of that country? There should be an expatriation.
Somebody also posed the question.
Yes.
Have you heard Kenya complaining?
Of course, Kenya may not have complained because, one, for us,
it's denied.
Yes, but Kenya came out handily and said we are not part and party of what happened.
So
he was picked here and taken
back.
Why
should you complain?
So, but for Besige, who was initially a soldier and then now is a civilian because he retired, should have been handled by the civil courts in that matter. And then if you're looking at the president heaping praise on the court martial for handling civilians, it is a very bad image that is trying to portray.
It is?
Anything can happen. And you don't want the soldiers having also too much authority to handle issues of governance and leadership. We even have them in parliament here as MPs. In some countries, the army is non-partisan. You cannot have the army involved in the leadership or other governance and political space. And then he has left the political education, particularly for the soldiers. You're empowering those soldiers. Those are machines. And what is the main role and essence of a soldier? A soldier is trained to kill. A soldier is trained to protect the sovereignty of this country. So by them having civilians court-martial, because we've not only seen this happen with
and the soldier, it is command from above, not
yes,
from the
one
law.
command.
So
if he says attack BTM, and the order is coming from the commander-in-chief.
Why?
Don't give him bail.
No, it's coming from the chief in command. My friend, we shall go down. That is what the soldiers are meant to do. I was in one event in Jinja, and one of the commanders, I think, of that division of Jinja, I think Maga should be the Gaddafi barracks or something, was addressing some gathering. He said, you see, soldiers are here to protect you people. But was also talking about the indiscipline of some soldiers, so was trying to punish them, but trying to win back the public trust, because the people had complained, and we're like, you see, if we're not going to get help here, then we are going to see how to reach the CDF. By then, I think the CDF was either Katumba or Malo or something, and then who comes? I think was a colonel who came and spoke about it. He said, you see, you have to forgive us. But these people, the main role or objective of these people, they are trained to kill. So when you encounter them, when they have gotten orders or directives to execute something, then you might crossfire with them, because for them they will not sympathize whether it is a goat that is in front or what. If it is to clear, it is to clear. So why I'm trying to emphasize on this? Yes, why I'm trying to emphasize on this? Having a militarized mindset and a civilian can never work. Me who's cross border, I'm in the middle, because I have dealt with generals, and then I know what civilians think. I know how civilians think. I know how these military people think. A military person is one that is disciplined, is been panel beaten to think in one direction. So even if he has numerous portfolios.
To obey command from the superior
officer presiding over the case of Bessie, do you think he's not acting independently?
He's acting because one is
he's not
a lawyer.
reading the law. He's reading like he said,
and then also
the commands of the
and then
court.
also when you look at the environment of the court martial, what was happening in Makinde, you find that is embedded or rather embroidered with a lot of emotions, lot of emotional attachment. This man wants to be accorded the respect. BSJ's lawyer, the counsel Ambron, was also reacting.
We have to get out of here.
So in that fracas, he first had to send the lawyer of Kiza BSJ to be in order. That here we are working on orders.
My last word is, given the cases we see from Segelinya, as a scholar, I would advise government and President Museveni that Dr. Kiza BSJ was a colleague. It is you who recruited him. That get him out of prison, especially the circumstances, because for you it might not be your intention, but Kiza BSJ might be poisoned in that prison, and everyone will not know the orders, but they will think it is Yoweri Museveni who poisoned Kiza BSJ. It is a risk for you, for your legacy. I will tell you as an elder, we respect you, but people want your legacy to be destroyed as fast as it can. So it is upon your decision, your 8 years, you don't have many years like many people, to protect your legacy and free Kano Kiza.
He said that himself already. That is not left with many years.
Yes.
In a second, Mr. Tim.
Thank you very much for this show. We always here, we share ideas on how we can build one another and build the country. But I think my parting shots go straight to us who are subscribed to NRM. As the young generation, one is that don't get so much embroidered in the fights of these big elephants. I'm advising the young ones. Because tomorrow when you are standing alone, you will answer alone, independently.
All right then.
And you don't know who will be who tomorrow. So whatever that is happening today, let's watch, learn, but they always say it, listen and don't what? Don't judge.
Okay.
So also about Segrinya, just one word. It is an experience that we have all seen. The young people come into power, have that excitement, and then the other thing is that probably we also lack mentorship.
True.
Attach yourself to one senior person that you see is rightly or rather morally right, upright, and let the mentorship come.
I thank you, Mr. Otim. If you're not happy in NRM, I would advise you to join the Labour Party. Thank you so much. Our dear viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of the Dialogue. My name is Muwonge. Until we meet again, goodbye for now. Fight hard, Mr.